7 seconds, and then 30 seconds. So out of 8 hours of time, basically 2 minutes of something that was interesting. So I'm hoping over this next 40 minutes, you'll get maybe, the same ratio, maybe 30 seconds or a minute of actual interesting, good stuff out of this Bible study. So, yeah. But that's rough. But, you do that stuff. And then we drove home real quick and grabbed our middle son and got him to his basketball game. And he gets in a little bit more than a minute of time, but not much. So, but it's good. All right, so we're in 2 Samuel chapter 8. And we're just going to read the chapter. It's not a very long chapter. And then we're going to break it down. And we've got some slides that we'll put up here in a second. Okay. So 2 Samuel chapter 8. And again, just kind of bring a quick review into it. David has gone from being... I don't want to keep hitting. David has gone from being king. I'm not... Landon playing jokes on me? No? Okay. No. I'll try to talk up this way, maybe. David has gone from being king of just Judah and to he's now king of the combined kingdom. He started to bring the ark out of a person's house. The wrong person touched it, so he had to leave it for a few months in a person's house. And got a new capital, Jerusalem. And so now we're going to read chapter 8. Now after this, it came about that David defeated the Philistines and subdued them. And David took control of the chief city from the hand of the Philistines. He defeated Moab and measured them with a line, making them lie down on the ground. And he measured 2 lines to put to death and 1 full line to keep alive. And the Moabites became servants to David, bringing tribute. Then David defeated Hadadezer, the son of Rehob, king of Zobah, as he went to restore his rule at the river. David captured from him 1,700 horsemen and 20,000 foot soldiers. And David hamstrung the chariot horses, but reserved enough of them for 100 chariots. When the Arameans of Damascus came to help Hadadezer, king of Zobah, David killed 22,000 Arameans. Then David put garrisons among the Arameans of Damascus, and the Arameans became servants to David, bringing tribute. And the Lord helped David wherever he went. David took the shields of gold, which were carried by the servants of Hadadezer, and brought them to Jerusalem. From Betah and from Berothai, cities of Hadadezer, King David took a very large amount of bronze. Now, when Toi, king of Hamath, heard that David had defeated all the army of Hadadezer, Toi sent Joram, his son, to King David to greet him and bless him, because he had fought against Hadadezer and defeated him, for Hadadezer had been at war with Toi. And Joram brought with him articles of silver, of gold, and of bronze. King David also dedicated these to the Lord with the silver and gold that he had dedicated from all the nations which he had subdued. From Aram and Moab, and the sons of Ammon, and the Philistines and Amalek, from the spoil of Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah. So David made a name for himself when he returned from killing 18,000 Arameans in the Valley of Salt. He put garrisons in Edom. In all Edom he put garrisons, and all of the Edomites became servants to David. And the Lord helped David wherever he went. So David reigned over all Israel. David administered justice and righteousness for all his people. Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was over the army. Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. Zadok, the son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, the son of Abiathar, were priests, and Sarai was secretary. Benaniah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and the Pelethites, and David's sons were chief ministers. Okay. Personally, I like, some people probably don't like chapters like this in the Old Testament where there's, it's kind of like history. I always liked history growing up, and I always liked military history especially. So this kind of thing, it's very interesting to me. But, okay, so just cover a couple things real quick. So take a guess, throw out numbers, and, it's okay if you're wrong, it's okay. But how the span of time from when Joshua helped settle and conquer the land of Canaan, so from when he died, then the judges were kind of the ones who led Israel, okay? Take a guess as to how long the time period was from Judges till they had King Saul, the first king. Take a guess. Do we have any history teachers in here? How long has America been a nation? That's a maybe. Yeah. 250 years, okay. Do you think the time of the judges is more or less? So that's a over, under. More or less than 250 years. Who says over? Who says more? Okay, over. Who said? Anyone say under 250? No. Okay, yeah, you're right. It's more than 250. So there we go. Throw out a number now.
Joshua to Jesus is 1,400 years.
Okay. So now we just got to minus some other parts, huh? But yeah, so it's less than 1,400, more than 250. 500 is close. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't really matter what you say because when I looked it up, there's anywhere from like little around 300 to over 400 because they don't know exactly. It's just kind of a moving target. But roughly, it's around 300 to 400 years. So longer than we've been a country, Israel's been led by the judges. Over that time, all these countries around them at different times have come in and taken over, and then one of the judges would be raised up and help them, throw off that country's yoke, and then Israel would be right again, and then Israel would start to sin again, another country. So for longer than we've been a country, other nations have been attacking Israel and taking pieces of their land and putting them into slavery. So now King David comes, and I'm breathy, I guess. It's probably, you know what it is? It's probably my sweater. Could it be the sweater?
I'm missing a part on the mic.
Oh.
I just haven't bought it yet.
Oh, okay. So it's not my fault. Okay, I'm okay now. It's not my fault. I thought it was me. No, it's. Yeah, I know. It's okay. As long as I know it's not me, it's okay. All right. It's like my marriage. As long as it's not my fault, I don't care, Not my fault. As long as I'm not in trouble, I should say. That's what I mean. Okay, so here in a second, we're going to put up a slide, and we're going to look at this like section by section. So picture that. Picture if we as a country have been invaded. Canada invades us and takes us over. Mexico invades us and takes us over. Cuba comes and takes over. And over our whole history, that's all what we've been used to, okay? And now this new king comes in and starts kind of fighting back against the others. So if we can put up the first slide, and then I want to reread. The first slide I might have to not reread something, okay? So it's kind of hard to see. You don't need to make out the words exactly, but this is a handout that Mark had weeks ago, and it's kind of hard to make out, but it's the Mediterranean Sea over here, and that's kind of the Holy Land. The part that's kind of circled down below is the Amalekites. Before David was even a king, when he was running away from Saul, he kind of was hiding with the Philistines, and they had him go and conquer the Amalekites, okay? So he's already kind of beaten the Amalekites, but they now start to give him tribute, so they're kind of under him. Okay, so now in verse 1, so that's in a different chapter, but now in verse 1 of chapter 8, it says, David defeated the Philistines and subdued them. So now, can you put up the second slide, Landon? So now if you can see, he's already taken over the Amalekites, and that little part along the coast, the Philistines, he takes that over. Okay, can you put up the next slide? Okay, so in verse 2, he defeats Moab. And so that's the little section. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's a little bit to the right of the Dead Sea or Salt Sea. Okay, put up the next one. Okay, now kind of add that area that is kind of north and a little bit east. So this is where he defeats Hadadezer. These are the Arameans or the Syrians, and he defeats a couple of these kings. Okay, the next one. Okay, down below, it's Edom. It says he beats Edom, and they become servants of his. And actually, the map kind of cuts it off, but Edom goes all the way down to the Red Sea, and he gets a port down there, so it's even further down, he adds. Okay, next one. And then right above Moab, below the Aramean Syrians, he beats the Ammonites, that area right there. And is that the last slide? Okay, is that number 6? Okay. So, okay. You can put that one back up, though, that last one, if that's the last one. If you can. So the point is, all those years, 300 some, 400 some years, they've been this small country, and their lands have actually been taken away. And now David, we did this lesson for the high school class. I was like, roughly how much bigger do you think he made Israel's land? And, one of the kids, well, it's like 8 times bigger. Yeah, I mean, that's a tremendous increase in their territory. So it didn't happen with the judges. It didn't happen with King Saul, and it happened with David being king. Okay, here we go. Easy answer. What was the difference? What did David have going for him that in the past they didn't? Who was on his side? Yeah, and the high school class got it right too. Good job. Yeah, there we go. And we'll kind of get to that point here in a second, a little more. Okay, so let's look a little more specifically at these things. So, the first part is the Philistines in verse 1. Real quick review. The Philistines were the ones, okay, here's everything the Philistines did to Israel. They had fought against Samson. Remember all those times? That was all Samson and the Philistines pretty much. When he killed a bunch with the jawbone of a donkey, when he tied the tails together, that was through the Philistines' fields and set them on fire. When he pulled down the building, that was the Philistines. But the Philistines are always giving the Israelites difficulty. So Saul, that was his battles that he lost a lot of times. They're the ones who killed Saul and his sons. Of course, Goliath, he was a Philistine. And so for centuries, the Philistines have been a problem for the Israelites. And now David becomes king, and here and in one other place, he fights the Philistines. And then you don't hear about the Philistines ever again. That problem's taken care of. Do you have a problem in your life that's kind of that constant coming back? It's like the Philistines, that's the one. Okay, with me, I have a bit of a temper. When I said this in the high school class on Wednesday, my one son that was in there was like, yeah. And he doesn't say a whole lot, and he was just nodding and smiling. Another one is I think I lose my temper because I'm selfish. I lose my temper when I have an idea of how I want my family to run, and how I want my job to run, and how I want my drive to work to be, and how I want people to treat me, and how I want my high state football team to win. Well, when things don't go, whether it's something in my work or my drive or my family, I can take a little bit. And then it kind of adds up. But that's kind of my Philistines, is temper and selfishness. And I think we all have something that's our Philistine that's just like, well, I can't beat that. That's how I am. I just have a temper. Okay? That's not a sin. It's just, that's how I am. That's my DNA. That's my makeup. And that's kind of an excuse, isn't it? The Philistines always were Israel's problem, but through David, through God, they were able to beat them. So we can beat those whatever your constant problem is, your repeating problem. Okay. Any comments on that?
You make us think about it.
Oh, well.
A lot of it has to do with letting God take over. God handle your problems, and not you trying to control it, or us trying to control it, whoever.
Yeah.
You rely more on God.
Yeah, I think a lot of our problem when we get in the way. Yeah.
We do give them one.
Okay. So look now to Moab. So with Moab, okay, a couple interesting things. Who was David's great-grandmother? Anybody know? Anybody know? Great-grandmother. I heard it. I think I heard it. Somebody saying it? Say it.
Ruth.
Yes, Ruth. Okay, so the book of Ruth, this lady who lives in the country of Moab, that's a little square, right lower, she accompanies her mother-in-law back to her mother-in-law's country, Israel, meets eventually a guy there, marries that guy, and then they have a son, Obed. They have a son, Jesse, and that one has a son, David. So David's great-grandmother was Ruth from Moab. Okay, how many people here remember a great-grandmother or great-grandfather? I do.
Barely.
Yeah. I remember. So, we live in a little different society now, but back then there's a chance, and I think a pretty good chance, that David had met at least in some way, or might have still been alive when his great-grandmother Ruth was alive. So that's kind of interesting,
Back in
isn't it?
that day, they all kind of lived together, in like one big community, I guess, or they all lived in one house or whatever.
Yeah.
Unlike how we are now.
And
I think they knew more relatives.
And they might have had their children a little bit younger too, so there's a chance that generations were, alive when other generations were. So, okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, also, when Saul was trying to kill David, David's running all around the place trying to stay away from Saul. David sends his mom and dad, and I can't remember if it's a sister or brother, but sibling of some, but his mother and dad, sibling, to Moab, to King Moab, say, hey, keep them safe. I'm running all over the country here. I just don't want Saul to get my family to get to me. So he sends them to Moab. So there's that connection too. And now when David goes to fight Moab, it says he makes them, he beats them in the war, makes them lie down on the ground, he measures them with a line, and then he measured 2 lines to put to death and 1 line to keep alive. So, can you picture that? I mean, basically he had them all line up, count by 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All the 1s and 2s kill. The 3s you stay alive, but you're going to be my servant now. That's pretty ruthless.
But again, he's not killing everyone off, which is traditional. So there is, believe it or not, there is perfection.
Yeah.
In a unique way.
No, I'm going to actually say this again. And that is a good point, but I thought it was pretty ruthless.
Oh.
His grandmother was Ruth.
How long did it take to fix that?
It's ruthless. All right, I think I'm done for today. Yeah, but okay, so yeah, there he still does spare some people, right? There is some compassion there, but it's. Can you imagine being in that line? You know, and they had a line that sounded like differently, like a whole line here, a whole line here, a whole line, and kill two lines. But can you imagine thinking, which line is he going to pick? Which line am I in the line he's going to pick? And if you are one of the ones spared, you're probably like, I don't want to fight this guy ever again. You know, if he did this to us once, I don't want to be in this stressful situation. So there was some compassion there, but that it gets his point across to them. So with this, and I think the lesson here is with us, if we have a sin, we have to kind of be ruthless when we attack it. I mean, you have to kill it, chop it off. You know, what is it where they say if your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out? We can't just kind of let that sin stay there. You know, back when God was having the Israelites conquer this area, he pretty much wanted them to wipe everybody out, push them away, not have people who had idols in their midst. But they kind of did, and that's one of their big downfalls. So I think, and that's kind of how we are with our sin too. So, you know, we'll dabble a little bit. You know, yeah, this show is kind of bad, has some bad language, but okay, we'll keep that on. And then pretty soon you're used to bad language all the time, and then next thing you know, but and that's just one example. But we kind of let the sin come in. We're not ruthless with it and really chopping it off. And I think just another lesson how to deal with sin. Okay. Okay.
I was just going to say that I had listened to a counselor once that said the best way to defeat that is actually go to war. If that particular problem that you have, really go to war with it, which, you know, and that's the only way you're going to conquer that is if you really,
You have to have that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You have
okay,
to.
This is
It's life or death.
Yeah.
Go to war with it.
Yeah. Okay. So the next group of people that and I'll just kind of summarize this. Hadadezer is the king here, and this is the group that's the big group that's up north and a little bit east. So this is either Syrians or Arameans. It's the words they use for these countries. And in this part, a couple of the kings get together and say, hey, let's team up and we'll beat David together. Sometimes don't things kind of build up in our lives, you know, and not necessarily even just sin, but just things build up in our lives. Okay, I'm at the age, I'm almost 32 now, and at my age,
Young pup.
I'm kidding.
My son.
I'm only 33. But, once I hit my 50s, things started kind of to break down more stuff. And it does kind of get to you a little bit when you know, different things in your health that you could do a while ago, you can't do anymore. It starts a little bit get to you, but there's people who have serious health problems, you know, and I have coworkers who are dealing with some really serious things right now. But that can attack you. But like you said, it's an adversary. I want to attack it. I'll make a war on it. But then what if I financially have issues too because of my health? I have all these hospital bills and I can't work. So that builds up. And you know, what if my job is affected? I can't really work that well. I'm not making as much money. What if I have issues with my family on top of that? And I think we all have multiple things that sometimes feel like they're teaming up on us. And don't you feel sometimes like, I'm just not even going to try anymore. This is too much, you know, I'm overburdened. When multiple armies teamed up and started to attack David, you know, he couldn't beat them either, but God can. And that's, even just kind of thinking about that, like, okay, my job, my health, my family, all these things that aren't ideal right now, that are going bad, going poorly, I can't deal with it. But as soon as I say to myself, God can, you know, that takes a little bit of pressure off me, just even saying that. So, and if I start to then attack it, believe it, I think that's a way to get through those things. Any comments on? Okay. Keep going here. Okay, so then he it's just kind of interesting. Then he also takes over Edom, who of course Edom is Esau's descendants, and the shields. Okay, so he from Hadadezer he takes gold shields from them. Okay. Is Steve in here? No, okay. Oh yeah, that is. Hunting. Okay. So they take these gold shields. You think about a gold shield. That's probably pretty impressive going into battle with a gold shield. If you had a gold an arrow with a gold tip on it, or a gun that's a gold gun, actually through and through, not gold plated. I mean golden gun, golden bullets. How effective do you think those would be?
Not very.
Yeah.
It's a soft metal.
Soft metal, yeah. And so it kind of explain, like, so what would happen if you tried to shoot a gold bullet out of a gold gun?
Probably be formed.
Get what?
It probably would be formed.
Yeah. It probably wouldn't fly straight, it wouldn't be very effective. And yeah, anything else about like a gold weapon?
It'd be heavy.
Heavy, yeah. But it's a soft metal, so it wouldn't work very well. So I was thinking about that. Gold shields, I don't think, I mean, maybe historically somebody else might be able to say something, but I don't know if they actually went to battle with gold shields. I don't know how effective it would be, but it's kind of more of a wealth thing. It's like, look how wealthy we are, we have these gold shields, kind of more. Does anyone here have, at their house, a cupboard behind, in our house it's behind in our dining room, behind our table, there's just a cupboard that's glass, and in it are all these fancy plates and cups that we got when we were married, right? Everyone got China. That's called China. Okay. It's fine.
Fancy.
Too. It's fine. Fine China. So does everyone here have a fine China set somewhere?
Yes.
Okay. Have we ever used it? No. And we've been married. We've been married. We've been married 20-some years, and we've never used that fine china. Has anyone here used their fine china that they had?
Holly's not
Oh, there we go.
All the
Yeah.
time.
Oh, all the time?
Why not?
Cereal and everything? Just kind
Well,
of.
I have like coffee sometimes in it, or I have guests over. Yeah.
I'm proud of you then. That's good though.
Tea parties. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Good.
No,
Good.
Holly, Lavender, we just had lemon tea.
Very good.
Oh, and it was beautiful.
Good.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Well, we don't use ours. Well, maybe when we don't have sons who are their age.
No, they told her.
Yeah.
I know that's what mom has.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of picture it's almost like that. These golden shields, they're kind of more of a status thing. It's more of a, here's my wealth. We have so much gold, we make our shields out of gold, but we probably don't really use them. But David takes the golden shields from Hadadezer, and it says that he devotes them to God. And then he gets silver, bronze, and more gold from other people. All these countries that he conquered. And then this is also in Numbers, there's a chapter that's the mirror image of this chapter. It's kind of the retelling. And it talks about even from the earlier conquerors, the Amalekites and all those, he took silver, gold, and bronze. So he's getting all this wealth, and he takes it and he dedicates it to God, is what he says. So, and that's the thing. Just simple lesson here, I think. Whatever we're blessed with, be thankful for it, and just know where it's coming from, and be ready to use it to help other people, or promote what God wants you to do with it. So, any comments on golden shields? Any comments on ruthless? No? All right. The last thing I wanted to say was, okay, so here at the end of the chapter, it talks about, I won't reread all the names, But it talks about he has a person over the army, a person who's a recorder, priests, a secretary, chief ministers. It just talks about the organization of David. And maybe Saul had the same type of cabinet. Maybe he did, but it's not recorded if he did. And I think that God, likes it when we try our best at things. And I think David was like, okay, we're going to make this government thing work. We're going to have some organization. There's going to be administrative positions. People are going to be responsible. And it says that he ruled, and it's in verse 15, David reigned over all Israel, and David administered justice and righteousness for all his people. And I think being organized, it makes people accountable. Doesn't sound like it was a corrupt government, so that kind of makes a difference. And does anyone have any comments? I have one more thing after this. Okay, so to kind of sum it all up, it says it twice. One time is in verse 14. At the end of the verse, it says, "And the Lord helped David wherever he went." And in verse 6, it says, "And the Lord helped David wherever he went." You know, that's why David was successful. That's why all of a sudden they were conquering all these enemies. He had wealth. There was justice in Israel. He was trying to be a good king. And it's all because God was with David. That's what he was doing. So that's the lesson for us, I think, this scripture. Anything else? Any comments?
I think a lot of your lining up of the soldiers, picking the ones that died and stuff. In the art of war, a lot of it is the fact of striking fear into your enemies. And I think if word got out that he did this, it would strike a lot of fear in the opposing people that are coming at him.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, that word that would get out, you know. Yeah. All right. All right, so we have a few minutes left. And you can visit among yourselves. So thank you.